Welcome back, Pokemon fans. Angel of the Night 091 here, coming at you with another tutorial video. As you guys know, I've been trying to find ways and methods in order to preserve the Wi-Fi battling scene with all of the past generations. Generation 1 to 3 only had the capability of communicating originally by link cable and by a wireless adapter. As you go forward into time, things went into the Nintendo Wi-Fi connection, which was with the DS scene, and so on and so forth. As it is, there's really no actual way to battle Generation 1 and 2 and 3 over the internet without using emulators. In the past, we used emulators such as like TGB Dual or a version of Visual Boy Advanced with Hamachi. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to manipulate the Nintendo Switch online experience for all of you out there that have your Atmosphere Nintendo Switches. But if you don't have a Nintendo Switch that can be modded, do not worry. We're going to be using a program called Yuzu. And Yuzu is a Nintendo Switch emulator that you could install onto your PC. Please note there's a few things that you're going to need to have in order to have this functional. First thing you need to have all of the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advanced ROMs for Generation 1, 2, and 3. For legal reasons, I cannot provide these to you. I've extracted them myself from my own game cards. Okay, so you will have to search online for these ROMs. The next thing you're going to need to have is you're going to need to have the Nintendo Switch Online application for Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced. Please note, for legal reasons, I cannot provide these to you. You will have to go and find them online, possibly through torrent sites, or if you have a friend that has an Atmosphere Switch, perhaps they can extract those for you and provide them. You're going to need the updates for those games as well, so please make sure that you have the most recent updates for them. The next thing is that if you guys do not have a Nintendo Switch with Atmosphere, you're going to have to search online for title keys. These title keys are essentially product keys that allow you to use these games in the emulator or onto an actual Nintendo Switch. If you don't have an Atmosphere Switch, that is a modded custom firmware one, you'll have to reach out to a friend that has one, or you will have to search online for these files. Obviously, for legal reasons, I cannot provide these to you. Now that we've addressed the legal scenario behind them, let's jump into the tutorial. Now for this tutorial, I'm going to assume you know how to install a program. So I can't necessarily show you the installation portion of Yuzu, but we will go over it. Okay, so into your browser, if you go to the website yuzu-mu.org, this is going to take you to the Yuzu website. On the Yuzu page, you're going to go to where it says download. So click download, and you're going to download the actual emulator here. Okay, we're going to click that for obvious reasons, just to show you that it works. It's going to download a file called yuzu_install. I'm going to highly recommend that you install that now. As well, you may also have to install the Microsoft Visual C++ 2022, especially if you are not up to date with your Windows updates. Make sure that you install the Visual C++ first, and then install your Yuzu. Okay. Once you've done that, we can launch the application. Okay, so we're going to launch Yuzu here, assuming that you've gone through the install for Yuzu already. Just make sure that you installed that Visual C++ first, or you'll get a launch error when you try to open the program. Now, my variation here is going to look slightly different because I've already got my games installed and configured. Okay, if you open this up for the first time, you're going to have a big old folder in the middle of the screen asking you to add a game folder. Please ignore this because you won't be able to add any games at this time because you'll have to install your title keys. Now to do this, in Yuzu, you have to go to File and open the Yuzu folder. Once you open the Yuzu folder, it brings you to a Windows Explorer page, and it's going to show you all of these folders here. You're going to want to duck into the keys folder, and as you can see, I have my key files here. These are from my Nintendo Switch. Okay. If you do not have a Nintendo Switch, like I said, you will have to acquire these from someone that has the Atmosphere custom firmware on the Nintendo Switch. They will have to export them using a program called Lockpick. The program, of course, is a payload that can be booted right from Hikari. Okay? If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's perfectly fine. All you have to do, you can open up Google and search for Nintendo Switch keys or title keys. Again, you'll have to have these in order to install the games. Once you've got these and you've put them into place, you can close your Windows Explorer. From there, close Yuzu and reopen Yuzu. This is key because it will not let you add the games in yet, as we have just opened the program and added our product keys. The game doesn't know how to, or the console doesn't know how to use them. So close it, reopen it, and once you've got it open, double-click that big old folder and specify where you have your Switch Online games stored on your computer. My recommendation is to create a folder, as I have. I've got a Yuzu game folder on my Z drive. Please note my Z drive is just another hard drive on my computer. Once you've done so, you will have your Yuzu set up like so. If you have the Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced in the folder, it should just load them right up. In your situation, because you've just added these files to your emulator, you will not have anything listed under add-ons. Please note, I have update 1.5.0 and update 1.3.0 for Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced. As long as you have your update files, which you will need, you will have to go to File, Install Files to NAND, and you will have to specify where you have these files. Of course, mine are on my Z drive, and they are under the Yuzu Games folder, as you can see here. When you find your NSP, you would click it, and you would click Open. This is going to start the process and prompt that'll ask you if you wish to install. Once you follow the on-screen instructions, it will provide this information here that you have update 1.5.0 or 1.3.0. At the time of this tutorial, these are the most recent updates for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced online experience. Once you have this, of course, you'll notice that mine says mod and mod. We're going to get into that here in a little bit. Next thing we want to do, we're going to close out of Yuzu. Okay. We're going to go back to our browser, and this time we are going to download an application called Cave. Now, Cave is a program that allows you to create your mod folder for the Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced for Switch Online. This will allow you to add in all of your Game Boy Advanced ROMs that you wish to add, and as well set the compatibility for game title for communication. This is a big mod application, so please make sure to download this, or this tutorial is not going to work for you. So click the download button here, as you're going to see Cave Database Manager 1.4.6 obsolete. Now, the reason why he says that it's obsolete is because he has a newer version, which is only available to his community. The creator of this application has a small community where you have to be a certain level in order to acquire the download for 1.5. At this time, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it saying obsolete. Just click onto Windows here and it will start the download process. As you can see, we have the Cave Download Manager. Make sure you extract this and put it into its own folder. Next, make sure you have all of your Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance games. You're going to need this. We're going to minimize our browser here, and we're going to open up the Cave Database Manager. Now, mine is already pre-configured, but I'm going to create a new database to show you how it's done. As you can see, I have all of the graphics for the ROMs, all of the title screens for all the ROMs, and I have all the copyright information here for the ROMs. Okay, you don't have to go to this extent. However, if you are going to be battling with other people, you're probably going to end up sharing your database, and I'm sure they would appreciate knowing what game they're launching. Okay, make sure you go through, get the box art for every game, make sure you get the title screen for every game. You're going to need that as well. In your Cave application, we're going to go to New. We're going to go to NSO Database. we're going to select Game Boy Online, and we're going to go to version 1.2.0.0. Now it's going to open up a Windows Explorer screen asking you where to save this. For this situation, I would recommend saving it in your Cave Database Manager folder that you would have created when you exported the zip folder. Create a new folder. I'm going to call this Tutorial Game Boy. That way I don't edit my one that I've already got complete. Go into the folder and hit Select Folder, and as you can see, we have an empty slate. Once you do this, we're going to go to File, we're going to add a game, and we're going to import a ROM. Now, on your computer, you're going to need to go to where you have these games saved. In my situation, I have them on my Z drive under a folder called Game Boy. As you can see, I have all of the games here. However, I think I have one still in my downloads, but that's neither here or there. You can browse your entire system for them. I'm going to add Pokemon Green to my list. As you can see, Pokemon Green comes up, and this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to change these sections. If you do not have the advanced sections, go to View, Columns, and make sure you show Advanced Options, show Advanced Info, and show Extra Info. Okay, you're going to need to be able to edit these. Before we proceed with editing Pokemon Green, we're going to right-click it. We're going to select New Cover Art. Okay, as you can see here, we have a folder called Game Boy, and we should have all the images in here. Now, the biggest thing is trying to find the correct image. For some reason, they are not loading all of the graphics. Where are we here? Pinball red, leaf green. Japanese green title. Let me open up that folder in an actual Windows Explorer screen. I've noticed that with his program, it doesn't load images very well. Okay, so mine's 250 PX Green JP. Where are we here? 250. Ah, there we go. We've got our box art for Pokemon Green. Now we're going to add the title screen. Right-click onto it again. Go to Select New Details Art. This is where you're going to put in the title screen for Pokemon Green. Here we go. It's loaded up correctly this time. And you can also go through and change the published by. You can type in Game Freak. You can put whatever you wish. Okay, you can even change the released information. Now, the next part is for details. We're going to click the drop down for one player. We're going to go to 2 simultaneous, and this is okay here. Next, under the advanced option where it says game CGB default, we're going to change this to high. CGB nostalgic, change this to high. Okay, this is basically going to take it from being a Game Boy game and putting it to a color Game Boy. Do not touch the advanced information at this time. We're going to work on adding in all of our other games here. So we're going to import a game. We're going to select Pokemon Red. We're going to add a game. We're going to add Pokemon Blue. Add a game. Pokemon Yellow. Where are you? There we are. Pokemon Gold. Pokemon Silver. Pokemon Crystal. And then, of course, we have a couple of other side games as well. We've got ourselves Pokemon Pinball. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. Trading card game. And trading card game 2. Okay, so this is, if you're a Pokemon fan, this is pretty much what it's going to look like. And then, of course, we just have to go in and select the actual art covers. Okay, I'm going to go to File and Save Database, because essentially what we've just done is inside this tutorial Game Boy folder, we have individual folders created based on the advanced info here, based on the code. The code that's for the game is the actual title ID of the actual ROM. Okay, so with that being said, when we take a look at all of these games, we have to specify what games these are all supported with. Okay, you can see here I'm changing all of these to simultaneous 2-player, because that's going to allow the connection between 2 players to continue to communicate at all times. We're going to do this, simultaneous. Okay, next thing I'm going to suggest is to split your screen, just like how I'm doing. You're going to be wanting to open up Notepad, because what we're going to do is we're going to create a list of game titles that are capable of being communicating within each other. So right now, as it is, if we were to load up Pokemon Green, the way that the compatible titles field is, it's only going to communicate with Pokemon Green. Okay, you can see the title here is green to green. This one here is red to red. This one's blue to blue. However, as you guys know, you can communicate Pokemon Green, yellow, red, blue, gold, silver, and crystal all together. Okay, so we essentially have to create a line of text that's going to basically simulate the ability to communicate with other games and generations. So in your Notepad, first thing you're going to do is you're going to take this C-to CFF_E. You copy it, put a comma. Do the same thing for Pokemon Red. Copy it, paste, comma. Pokemon Blue, copy, paste, comma. Pokemon Yellow, copy, paste, comma. Pokemon Gold, copy, paste, comma. Pokemon Silver, copy, paste, comma. Pokemon Crystal, copy, paste, comma. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this information, we're going to go and copy it, go back to the compatible titles for Pokemon Green, delete what's there, paste. Repeat all the way up to Crystal. Okay, once you've done that, you can close your Notepad, and we are done with Pokemon for Game Boy Color. We've got it all set up right now. As you can see, the most compatible titles, it shows all of the compatibility here. If you have other games, for example, if let's say Pokemon Pinball was to communicate with Pokemon Red for whatever reason, you would add the Pokemon Red game title to the Pinball, and vice versa. As it is, I don't remember the compatibility between Pinball to the TCG2, so we're going to leave it alone. We're going to go to File and Save Database. Okay, you're going to repeat this exact same process with Game Boy Advanced. Okay, when you have this complete, I'm going to show you my 2 completion of my data files. Okay, so I'm going to go to my original data files that I've created. That is under my cave. So here is my Game Boy. Close this. Reopen my cave. Close this. Okay, so this is my complete version of my Game Boy database. So as you can see, I added things a little bit differently as I went. I actually put pinball before yellow, but not a big deal. As you can see, I've gotten all of the game titles here. However, Crystal for some reason did not get updated. So we're going to copy green, red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal. Okay, copy. We're going to update Pokemon Crystal as I'm here. We're going to go to File, Save Database. So this one's actually all complete. We don't have to change anything more to it. This is my complete database that I created the other day. As you can see, I've got the correct release dates and the correct copyrights listed in here. We're going to open up a database for my Game Boy Advanced. So as you can see, Game Boy Advanced. We're going to open up my database here. And we've got Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Pinball, and Mystery Dungeon. As you can tell, based on this application here, it's a little different under the advanced options. You don't have to change anything for Game Boy Advanced. You do, however, have to set the 2 simultaneous players for the compatibility of having multiple players. If, let's say, in Pokemon Emerald, you can connect up and battle against 4 people, then, of course, you would change it to 4 people. However, 1-to-1 Wi-Fi battling is probably just going to be 2 simultaneous. Compatible titles, you do have to make sure you have specified. As you can see here, Emerald to Leaf Green will all communicate to each other. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to save your database, and then you can close Cave. Okay. Now, if you go to where you saved your Cave folders for your databases, I'll show you what you need to do. Next thing, go into your Cave Manager folder. I'm going to take out my other folders here, not to confuse people. Okay, so I have a folder called Game Boy and Game Boy Advanced. These are my 2 databases. If I go into it, you're going to see that I have a zip folder in each one. As I was doing testing last night with Retro, I was able to share this folder with the other player in order to verify that the database was going to be functional. At this time, don't worry about those. I'm just going to make sure that they're all specified correctly. So when you open up your folder, you're going to have a bunch of numbers, and this is your title ID for Nintendo Switch Online. This is the game title for Game Boy. The other one is the title for Game Boy Advanced. Okay, you're not necessarily going to need to know this, but you're going to need to have them. Okay, next thing you're going to do is launch your Yuzu. Okay, once Yuzu is open, I'm going to show you how to add the mods to the Yuzu application to modify the game contents of the Yuzu Switch Online folder. So for Game Boy, you're going to right click onto it and open mod data location. As you can see here, we have a folder, but there's a folder inside called mod. Okay, if we open up our Game Boy directory, you can see that the 50,000 folder is where this mod folder is. If we go into this, there's a ROM-FS folder. Okay, we have to copy ROM-FS into a folder here called mod. By default, this folder does not exist. You have to create a mod folder in here. So right click, go to new, create a new folder, and call it mod. From there, go inside the mod folder and paste your ROM-FS folder inside. In my situation, because I've updated Pokemon Crystal, I'm going to do that now. Okay, close this folder. Do the same thing for Game Boy Advanced. Right-click it, open Mod Data Location. If you do not have a mod folder, you're going to have to right-click, go to New, and create folder. Once you've done so, go into the mod folder and copy your Game Boy Advanced ROMFS folder inside mod. I'm going to do this now because I can't remember if I made any changes since the last time I was in here. You can close this, and you can close the other folder. At this time, Yuzu is updated with the most recent package of the modded ROMFS folder. When you launch the Game Boy application, you should see the games that you've added. Just to confirm, I'm going to open it up here and show you. Okay, as you can see, I've got Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, I've got Blue, Crystal, Gold, Green, Pinball, Yellow, Silver, Red, and of course, Trading Card Game. If you wish to rearrange these, you can use the Y button, just like you would on the Nintendo Switch, and place them where you wish. I'm going to rearrange these so that way they are in the proper order. Or rather, in my proper order. I don't really care about the other titles. As you guys know, I'm a huge Pokemaniac, and I've spent a lot of time trying to figure these out. Okay, so if we click onto, let's say, Pokemon Crystal, as you guys know, Pokemon Crystal is an enhanced version of Gold and Silver. You're going to see it load up here. Now, what I'm going to recommend is during this time, go through and open up every game that you wish to add a game save to. And the reason I'm going to tell you this is because it's going to create a folder on the back end that you can put a game save into. In this situation, I'm using Pokemon Crystal. So I'm going to load up Pokemon Crystal, and I'm going to create a new game save. Oop, that is not the correct time. Obviously, in this situation here, it doesn't really matter because clock-based events probably are not going to work for you. So this is 2:52 in the afternoon. Yikes, I overslept. Okay, so we got Pokemon Crystal here going. We got good old Professor Oak showing up. Now, the cool thing about Switch Online is that you can actually save states, which is pretty sweet. So if you're going up against like a legendary Pokemon, I mean, you can save like you normally would, but you can also just save your state. We're just going to go in and make our trainer name here. We're going to get into the house, and then we're going to save. Okay, now what did you say your name was? We're just going to put a new name. Okay, Angel of the Night. Okay, so we got our game save. Now this is important. When you go in to save the game, you're not done. Okay? This application requires you to actually do the ZL and ZR to escape. So, I've configured that for button 1 and 2. So I'm going to go back to the game selection. If you don't do this, and you just close the emulator, your game save will not save. Okay, so if you're playing for hours, you save your game, you think you're done, you close the emulator, you've just lost hours of gameplay. Okay, so, excuse me, make sure you save the application, So go into your game, hit enter to go to your start screen, go to save, and once you're finished, press your ZL or ZR and go back to your game selection. Okay, this is the most important part. Okay, now that we're done, you go to emulation and stop. Okay, I'm going to click yes, and that is going to stop the emulation for the emulator. Okay, so next part is, let's say you have a game save already. In most cases, if you're a Wi-Fi battler, this is something that you're going to be doing. I'm going to recommend to go to Project Pokemon. Okay, as you can see here, we're on the main home page, and find a game save for Pokemon Crystal. So we're going to go to Downloads. We're going to go to User Contributed Saves, and we're going to look for Pokemon Crystal. Now they should have game saves for pretty much every Pokemon game that's on here. These are provided by other players. So read what the descriptions say, so that way you know kind of what you're in for. So this was a Pokemon Crystal game save here. Let me see what it says. Old Pokemon save file, replaced the battery years ago and have been playing it for years, though some help got it on my 3DS console. Okay, sounds to me like it's probably complete. So I'm just going to hit the download here. As you can see, it downloaded a .sav file. Now, these emulators do not work in .sav. So anything you have to do to the game save, you're going to want to use PKHEX with a .sav file. Okay? PKHEX will only read .sav. Let's open up PKHEX here. Okay, we're going to click and drag our game save into the program, and it's going to change around for Pokemon Crystal. Okay, take a look at the party. They actually got a pretty cool party here. Looks like there's a Flareon, an Aerodactyl, Kingler, Jolteon, Magnemite, Magneton, what am I saying, and Dewgong. So I'm going to try changing the trainer name. So we go to the SAV, go to trainer info. I'm going to change this one to AOTN. Actually, I'm going to change this one to Elena. And I'm going to change the trainer to female. Save, export, export, save. And we're going to save that in my downloads. And there we go. Okay, so we've got a game save for Pokemon Crystal. Now, we're not done. So, if you go back to your Yuzu, right-click on Game Boy, and go to Open Save Data Location. Okay, you're going to get a folder like so. I'm going to increase the icons so that way you can see what they are. So if you go into Saves, you're going to see a whole pile of folders here. Okay, these are all of the folders for all of the games that you've already opened and started a game save with. So we need to figure out, okay, which game is Pokemon Crystal? If you go back to your Cave application, you're going to be able to find out what the title ID is just by looking at it. So let's open up our Game Boy database. To do this, go into your Game Boy folder, go into the 50,000 folder, and select ROM-FS. As you can see, it's going to change it over here in just a minute. It did not. Hopefully I didn't just overwrite what I did. Game Boy. ROM-FS. I hope I didn't overwrite this. There we go. Okay, just took a second there. So select the main folder, so the 50,000 folder. If we take a look at Pokemon Crystal, the folder name is going to be C-byte_E. Here is our folder under Saves. And you're going to notice that we have a file called cartridge.ram, or cartridge.sram, sorry. If you're familiar with my Pokemon Stadium tutorial, you're going to know that there is a converter that converts from SRAM to save and save to SRAM. What I'm going to do here at this time, I'm going to show you how to do that. The website that you're going to be going to is savefileconverter.com. Okay, when you go to the site, click Nintendo Switch Online. And what we're going to do is we're going to convert from .sav to a Nintendo Switch format. So go down here to where you see these little arrows. As you can see, emulator raw and switch. Click the blue arrow pointing towards the left because we're going from an emulator file to the Nintendo Switch. So we're going to choose a file to convert. We're going to hit browse. We're going to find the Pokemon Crystal version .sav. We're going to open it up. Next, for the platform, we're going to choose Game Boy Color. Now, you're going to see a drop down here that says choose an example of an NSO save file. Now, if you go back to your saves folder, you see that cartridge.sram file. My recommendation is you're going to always need to have an example of an SRAM cartridge. So I'm going to suggest you call it original cartridge. That way you always have that example in order to be able to use the converter. Next, copy the path to where that file is stored. Go to Browse, go to the address bar, and paste that in there. You're going to see that original cartridge.sram is there. Double click it, and it will load it up here. Next, click Convert. That's going to download a Pokemon Crystal version .sram file. We're going to take this and put it into our saves location. Now, of course, I closed out of my saves folder. So we're going to drag that into the proper folder. And we have to rename our game save now to cartridge. Okay, so it should be cartridge.sram. Now, if for whatever reason you are completely lost, you don't see the .sram, it's because you don't have file extensions being shown on your Windows system. So now that we're into Yuzu, we can actually double click onto the Game Boy application. And we're going to verify that our game save works. Okay, there's Pokemon Crystal. We're going to open that. Okay, there we go. We actually have a game save that works for Pokemon Crystal. Now, I do have to make note of quite a few things here in regards to Pokemon Crystal, because it seems to be the black sheep of all of the games that I've tried here. First things first, if you get a game save, make sure that your game save that you're going to be sending over to the Switch Online experience is from Visual Boy Advanced, or it's from your Virtual Console from your 3DS. If you have a game save that originated from a physical cartridge, it's not going to work for this. Reason being is that there's individualized hex values that have to be changed, and it is way too complicated for me to get into trying to explain that here into this tutorial. The next thing, Pokemon Crystal, because it is the black sheep, you can only take a game save, a .sav file, convert it to the .sram, and send it to the Switch Online experience once. Okay? There's no going backwards to edit it in PKHEX and then putting it back into the Switch Online. So what that means is that if you want to edit your Pokemon for competitive play, keep the .sav file that you have and make your changes in the .sav file. Every time you want to update your game save on your Switch Online for Pokemon Crystal, convert that .sav file that you stored over to an SRAM and then inject it into the save folder for Pokemon Crystal. Okay, so game save, edit in PKHEX, convert, input into Switch Online. For all other games, you have no problems doing this. You can convert to SRAM and you can convert back to a .sav perfectly fine. The oddity is just Pokemon Crystal. Okay, so we've got Pokemon Crystal loaded up here, and I'm going to be honest with you, my good old buddy Retro Knight helped me out here try to figure out the oddity, and that is kind of where we're at. So Pokemon Crystal, it will work. but you can only take a game save, edit it in PKHEX, convert it, send it over as the SRAM save to the Switch Online experience, but you can't go backwards. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you the full experience of taking a game save, putting it into the PKHEX, converting it to SRAM, playing it onto the Switch Online, and then taking it back and converting it to a .sav to continue to edit in PKHEX. Okay, so we're going to stop the emulation here. Now, I should have a Pokemon Red save that I have from my original cartridges here. I'm going to make sure that I've got it. Just give me 1 second here. Red.sav. Pokemon Red. Okay, so here is a save file. I don't know exactly what's on it, but we're going to take a look here while we're at it. So I'm going to open up PKHEX. I'm going to drag the Pokemon Red save into it. And I'm just going to check the trainer info. So as you can see, this is my game save. Okay. My party Pokemon here is Charizard. This is a level 74 Charizard, of course, not really, too important. But we will give him a different attack. We'll give him Fire Blast. Okay. Set. We'll export the save back to our downloads folder. And we have a game save for Pokemon Red. Next thing we need to do, we're going to go back to the Game Boy for Switch Online. We're going to find Pokemon Red, and we're going to just start the actual game. That way it's going to create the save folder for Pokemon Red. Okay, here we go. Let's get a quick game save created for Pokemon Red. We're going to use this as our example file to convert to an SRAM. Okay, our opponent, we're going to call him Green. Oh, Blue. Okay. Might be used to a Japanese game here. Okay. We're going to hit save. Okay, we saved our game. Then what we're going to do is we're going to hit our buttons to go back to game selection, and we're all set. So we're going to stop the emulation here. Okay. We are going to open up our save folder. And I'm going to be honest with you, I can't remember the game title for Pokemon Red. So Pokemon Red is 91E6. Here we go. I'm going to copy this location. We're going to open up our browser, go to the save file converter, Nintendo Switch Online. We're going to convert from the emulator, which is our game save we're going to inject. We're going to find our Pokemon Red version. Platform is Game Boy Color. And then we have to select our example of our SRAM. Convert. As you can see, we've downloaded the SRAM. We're going to put this into the Pokemon Red folder. Copy the name. Rename this to Old. And we are going to rename this to Cartridge SRAM. Now, if we open up the Yuzu again, go back to the Game Boy, we should now have a game save for Pokemon Red. Okay, we'll give it a second here to load up. And if this is correct, this should have my Charizard in second position of my party, with Fire Blast. Okay, game save works. There's the party, there's the second Charizard, and it has Fire Blast. Perfect. Now, let's say you've done some competitive play and you want to add more Pokemon into this game save. So, you can either do it the method of the Pokemon Crystal way and keep one game save and then just inject it, or you can go backwards with Pokemon Red. So, if we go back to the save file converter, we're going to take it from the SRAM back to a .sav file. So we're going to browse. Here's our cartridge.sram. The platform is Game Boy Color. And you see how it picks up the 32 kilobits already? That is exactly where we need it to be. We're going to hit convert. We're going to open up our PKHEX. As you can see, cartridge 5 is the most recent. We're going to put it into PKHEX. And here's the game save right here. So you can see you can go backwards with every other game, but you can't go backwards with Pokemon Crystal. It's just too much of an oddity, but you can take one game save with Crystal and put it through no problem. Okay. Now, if you were to do this with Game Boy Advanced, it's pretty much the exact same process. So we're going to start up the Game Boy Advanced because we haven't been into it here yet in this tutorial, and it's a big part of Wi-Fi battling. Generation 3 was when they properly had abilities and IVs and natures and all that. So I do have a Pokemon Ruby game save. I have an Emerald game save. I do not have a Sapphire game save. So we're going to load up Pokemon Sapphire. Okay. We're going to make sure that we can create a game save for this. Hi, sorry to keep you waiting. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. Okay, we're just going to scoot through this as fast as possible here. And then we'll get into doing the Wi-Fi battling. I'll show you guys how to do that here in just a moment. Okay. I'm just going to save it in the truck. Perfect. And then we're going to hit our two buttons to go back to the menu selection. And then we're going to stop our emulation. Okay. So now we need to figure out where our game save is for Pokemon Sapphire. So open up our mod data, not our mod data, sorry, our save data. Go into our saves. And then if you reopen Cave, open up your database for your Game Boy Advanced. And there's Cave, there's Game Boy Advanced. Select Pokemon Sapphire. His title is AXPE. AXPE. There's our Pokemon Sapphire. So I don't have a game save for Pokemon Sapphire. So we're going to go to Project Pokemon. Now, I don't know if there's any issues with Sapphire, with game cards or whatnot. So we're going to do this as we did prior. We're going to go in and find a game save for Pokemon Sapphire. Now, best method, I'm assuming most people will probably play on Visual Boy Advanced, don't have the ability to rip their game saves from their cartridges. So if you're using Visual Boy Advance, you shouldn't have a problem. However, I just don't have a game save for Pokemon Sapphire. See if we can find Sapphire here. Where are you, Sapphire? There we go. Pokemon Sapphire. Download. So we have a game save. I'm going to take this game save. I'm going to open up PKHEX. Drag it inside. I'm going to edit the trainer info. Female trainer. Save. And save. Okay. We're going to convert this over to a SRAM file. So we're going from an emulator. There we go. The platform is Game Boy Advanced. And as you can see, it's just going to output an SRAM file. From there, we're going to click and drag, put it into our AXPE folder. I'm going to rename my game save that I created originally to .old. I'm going to rename this one to cartridge. Now, if we go back to Yuzu and launch the Game Boy Advanced, we should now have a game save for Pokemon Sapphire. Okay. Now, if later on you wish to add more Pokemon with PKHEX into your Sapphire game, just convert it back to a .sav, the same method as you would with the Game Boy Color games. Okay, here we go. We're getting into the Game Boy Advanced. We're going to Sapphire, and if we are correct, we should now have a game save with the name Elena on it. Here we go. And as you can see, we've got Pokemon in here, and our trainer name is Elena. Perfect. Next, we're going to go through and cover how to set up your net play with your Yuzu. Now, Yuzu is a little bit different. When you set up Yuzu, you have to go to the web tab, and you have to click sign up. Now, this is going to give you the ability to create an account for Yuzu. You have to do this, and after you've created an account on the website, there will be a token key. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to show you that process because I don't want to display my token. But once you've entered it in here, you have to click verify, and as you can see, the green check, we are gold. Okay. Next thing, we're going to go to System. Make sure I've got everything set up here. Profile and Network. Network I do not have set up here currently. Okay, so when you get to network, you're going to notice here that you can specify which network adapter you wish to use. Now, in this tutorial, we're going to be showing you how to use Hamachi to set up a direct connection to your other player. Okay, so hit cancel here for a minute. Hit cancel. You're going to go on to the internet. You're going to go to Hamachi. Hamachi. It's a VPN.net, which is the website, and it's created by logmein.com. Go through here and download this. Okay, you're going to need this for when you connect up online. Through Yuzu natively, it was very choppy and laggy. However, by setting up a direct connection with my opponent, it actually bypassed the amount of hops to other servers. So we're going to install LogMeIn, which is the Hamachi server. And this is what it is here. LogMeIn Hamachi. So I'm going to power this on. When you get this turned on, you're going to be prompted to create a network. Okay. Now, when you do this, you can allow X amount of players to be able to connect to your network at a time. You can control them over here. For example, if I right-click onto Retro, I can evict him from my network. If you're concerned in regards to having a VPN connection set up with a random person or another player, don't worry. You're not going to be able to connect into their computer. They can't remote desktop you, and they cannot control your computer or access any of your files. I'll show you this by clicking onto Installation 4, which is my other desktop. If I right-click it and go to Browse, As you can see here, it opens up the network credentials. Without these, no one can get into your computer, so you are safe. Okay? Now, with that being said, you have to create a network. So if you go to Network, click Create Network, you can specify the network ID and a password. This is what your opponent is going to have to type in order to be able to get to your specific network that you create. In my situation, I created a network called A91 GBA. Okay? My password, of course, I'm not going to tell you it, but my opponent had to enter that in order to connect up. If you're the opponent and you want to join a network, click Network, click Join an Existing Network. This is where you can enter in the network ID and the password. In my situation, if I was the opponent trying to connect to A91 GBA, I'd have to type A91 GBA and then the password. That'll pair you up. Please note that with the application of Hamachi, it will require you to create an account with Hamachi. It's free. There's no charge to it. You can create as many networks as you want, but it is restricted to how many players you can have. So over time, you'll probably want to clear out your list of what you have on your server. In my situation, I tend to battle Retro quite a bit, so I won't be removing him. These IP addresses and these MAC addresses are emulated. They're not real. Okay? So once you've done that, you've connected up with your opponent with the Hamachi LogMeIn. All you got to do is open up Yuzu again. And you have to specify your network adapter. You have to do this every time you boot it up, unless you had LogMeIn running first. But you're going to want to get into a good practice of going in and checking these settings. So go to System, go to Network, and as you can see, Hamachi is my default network. Okay, next thing, make sure your CPU is set for auto. These are my current graphics settings. You can by all means make sure you can mark them down if you wish. However, they're going to be unique to your computer. So you're going to need to adjust your system to what your system can handle. In my situation, I have a gaming laptop. I'm using an NVIDIA 3060 graphics card. If I go to Advanced, these are also my settings. Make sure you try to copy them the best that you can, and then adjust accordingly to your computer. For audio, keep it at the defaults, SDL2, and then go in here to configure your network buttons. Or not your network buttons, your controller buttons. Okay? In my situation, I've already done that prior. I won't need to do that, but you can go there and configure up to 8 players. Okay? I'm going to click OK. And what we're going to do is we're going to start the connection to another player. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a server room. So if I go create room, I have it all set up here in regards to what I want to have for my room. I've called it Snowpoint Temple. I've specified my preferred game. You don't really have to do this. It just kind of tells other players what yours is. For the maximum players, I've allowed 2 players, myself and my opponent. And then, of course, you set your password. In this case here, I will use password 123. Port number. The port number is something you have to open up onto your router. So if you are hosting all these games, make sure you port forward 24872 or whatever port you specify. If you don't have the ability to open up a port number and forward it, you will have to join one of the public chat rooms. Okay. Once you've done this, go ahead and hit host, and that will start the host of this room, so that way your opponent can find you. If your opponent is hosting, you would go multiplayer, browse, public, game lobby, and then you can type the nickname of your opponent in here, and you can search for them. Of course, I'm not hosting right now, but if I was, you'd be able to see the room here. You just double click it. So I'm going to go ahead and create my room. I'm hosting it. And onto my desktop computer, I'm going to browse for myself. So, Angel of the Night, 091. See if I can find it here. games, no point. Okay, so I found myself. I'm going to double click it. And then it should be prompting me for a passcode here. Okay, so as you can see, I've now joined to myself. And we are going through Hamachi on both of my Yuzus for connectivity. Next thing you're going to want to do after you've joined your room, which is the #1 thing you have to do, you now have to load up the Game Boy for Switch Online. Okay, so both games have to be loaded at a time. Okay. So we've got our Game Boy loaded up here, perfectly fine. I am going to show you now how to host a local connection. So on your Switch Online, if you're going to host the game, go to the far left. I like to go into settings first and make sure you have selected or deselected show controls in game. That is the most annoying setting that this thing has. Make sure you turn that off. Next thing you're going to want to do is go to play local multiplayer and play while you wait. Now, if you have multiple people joining your rooms or your log me ins, Hamachi servers, you could set a passcode to your opponent joining up to you. On your opponent's side, they go to the exact same menu system. So they go over to the far left, go to play local multiplayer. And when they're searching, they're going to find your name. They click your name. As you can see, it's joining us up. And we're going to be able to select the game that we wish to play. In my situation, on this screen, I'm going to choose my Pokemon Special Pikachu Edition. The reason being is that this is actually having my original game save from 1999 in it, and I would very much like to be able to load it up. Now on my opponent's side, they can actually scroll through and pick what games they wish to use. Now you're going to see that a lot of the games don't show up on the screen. It's because there's a software limitation for the Switch Online experience. As you can see, by default in the middle, Pikachu. To the right, it's Gold. To the left, it is Pokemon Blue. To the left of it, you can barely see Charizard, and then to the left of that, it's Pokemon Green. And vice versa, Pokemon Pokemon Silver, and then Pokemon Crystal. In this case, I'm going to choose Pokemon Blue for that tutorial. And then what's going to happen is that it's going to load up the two games. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the progress bars of your latency. Blue is good, yellow is mediocre, red is not good, and if there's no bars, that is really bad. Okay, so we're going to load up our games here. So this should load up my game save for Pokemon Yellow. And again, this is my game save from 1999. I use it in a lot of my videos, and it makes me really happy to show it off. So as you can see here, we are in Pokemon Yellow. On to our other side, I've got Pokemon Blue. I know you guys can't see that, but I'm loading up my game save here right at the moment. Okay, so what you're going to do in both games, talk to the cable lady in the Pokemon Center. Before opening the link, we have to save the game. Please wait. And if you are like me and click really fast, make sure you slow down to select Coliseum. And we are going into the battle room. Now, if you guys are just looking into this for Pokemon trading, you can do this as well. Just select, trade instead of Coliseum. And here we go. We're going to go into a Wi-Fi battle. Or, in this case, a link battle. Because back in the day, it was all by link cable. Alright, so that is going to load up. Now, there's a few things you need to know about doing the battles. So, as it is right now, every game connects and communicates perfectly fine. I have an English Pokemon Green that communicates with every other game. I have all these games that will communicate with the Pokemon Green. The only game that will not communicate with itself is the English Pokemon Green. Okay? For whatever reason, I can't get it to work. But green to green doesn't work. Green to everything else does. So adjust yourself for your opponent, or figure out who's going to use the Pokemon Green version at that time. Is this a perfect method? Absolutely not. But it is the smoothest process that is available to date. Okay? So as it is right here, we are battling in Game Boy for Pokemon Yellow and Blue. And it'll work. It'll work quite well, actually. The key to this being a success is the Hamachi server. The Yuzu servers don't operate very well, and the pings are quite low because of how many people they have in the server. Okay, so what happens is servers get overloaded, you can't communicate very well, and this eventually fails. So set up the Hamachi and use it as your network adapter. It's the best method. I'm going to go ahead here and swap out. I'm going to go out to my Pikachu because Retro hates that. And then I'm going to transform the Mew into Pikachu. Just because. So this is the Surfing Pikachu from Pokemon Stadium. And as you can see, this is playing without flaws. So that's pretty fantastic. Ah, Pikachu, no! It's okay, we're gonna get this Mew, right? We're gonna get this Mew? Nope. Okay, we're gonna stop the emulation here. We're gonna show you the Game Boy Advance there now. We'll give it a second to catch up. So you can actually stay in the room that you have set up with the Yuzu. So let's go to the Game Boy Advanced. We'll load that up. And we will pair up probably Emerald and I think I had Ruby. So I have an Emerald game save here. But first we have to actually go over to the left. Show controls in game. I've turned that off. Play multiplayer. And we're not going to set a passcode. Okay. We're going to wait here for my computer that's behind this one. We're going to play local multiplayer. We're going to connect to Angel of the Night 091. As you can see, we have connected up. And now I can specify which game we're going to play. I'm going to select Emerald. And my opponent can now choose what they wish to use. I'm trying to think here now. Which one had which? I'll just use Emerald for now. Okay. I'm pretty sure Emerald to Emerald worked. I'm pretty sure I had a game save for those already. Now, mind you, in this system, I could have probably gone with Ruby or I could have gone with Sapphire because I had game saves for those, but okay, internal battery, that's fine. Okay, game save is there. Okay, I have game saves in both of my Yuzus for Emerald, so we're going to connect up. Welcome to the Cable Club. We're going to go to Coliseum. We're going to go to Double Battle, because why not? Okay. And hit A. And A to confirm. Please enter. So as you can see, we're going into the Pokemon Emerald here at this time being. And they're going to communicate. So this is how we're going to be able to do Generation 1, Generation 2, and Generation 3 competitive Wi-Fi battles by using Yuzu, the Nintendo Switch Online NSP packages, and with the Hamachi LogMeIn server. So hopefully you guys found this tutorial helpful. If you did, make sure you go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. It's probably the most in-depth tutorial that I've had to set up to date. And it was definitely the one that took the longest for me to figure out, for sure. There was a ton of testing that had to be done. And it definitely took a period of time to figure out. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed it, you guys know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button, post your comments, and let's revive Gens 1 to 3 and visit over at Snow Point Temple. That is where we're going to be hosting these battles. If you guys need any help with this process, reach out to us at Snow Point Temple. Go to the specific generation tab that you wish to battle, and there's a discussion forum that's there. You can actually type in what your problem is, make sure you give screenshots, and reference what part of the battle, or not the battle, the tutorial you're in, so we can try to help you out. So again, I can't provide ROMs, I can't provide title keys, but I will provide links to all the software in the description below. Take care, have a good one, and as always, peace out. Alright, where are we at here? Ooh, Alakazam! Ooh. Ah, the paralysis! No! Ho ho ho! And a synchronize! Oh yeah! Paralyzing Jolteon. Oh, Psychic into my Jolteon. They're all my Jolteons, let's be honest. Ooh, that Jolteon's getting wrecked.